Terrible decision. And then it should explode. Boom, there it is. Gigantic explosion. Did you guys see that the Russians bombed their own city? I think I might have talked about this on yesterday's stream, but for anybody who missed it, the Russians bombed themselves. In Belgorod province, a Su-34 aircraft was flying over the region, flying over the city, and accidentally dropped a bomb that was most likely intended for Ukraine. I've heard some people suggest that it was going to be Kharkiv, but no, it ended up falling in Russia. Originally, I saw some Russian state talking heads, for example, some commentators on Russia Today, start saying that this was actually an American attack. America had attacked Russia. That's what this is. This is crazy. Before saying like an hour later, never mind, we bombed ourselves. Oopsie doopsie. But now it seems to be pretty clear that the Russians bombed themselves. Now, they say that there's no casualties. Now, I don't know if there were casualties, but what I do know is that from the explosion, a car was thrown onto the roof of a building, and this bomb blew up in a busy highway. Watch this. Watch this video. So you be the judge, because I obviously I can't disprove them. I don't know. They could be telling the truth. They could be lying. But with a bomb exploding as powerful as it was, I remember being told originally, one of the first things that was emphasized to me was that it was a powerful explosion. This happening on a busy intersection. It's hard for, I mean, I hope nobody died, because these are civilians going to and from work. I hope nobody died. But it's just, is Russia telling the truth? Who knows? Let's see. So you're going to see the bomb fall there. There it is. It knocks out two of the lights right next to it from its impact. Now, this is the bad part. You can see cars are like slowing down to check it out. You can see cars are like slowing down, like, oh, what just happened? Terrible decision. And then it should explode. Boom, there it is. Gigantic explosion, tearing up the asphalt. Super lucky for other people in those cars that it had all of that asphalt, all of that road to kind of somewhat contain the explosion. If it wasn't there, if this just happened in a big field, all those people in those cars would be dead and be impossible to deny it. From the explosion, mind you, now again, the Russians still say no casualties. That's what they said. From the explosion, it was so powerful that this car was thrown onto a nearby building and they had to take it off with a crane. This is wild, man. This is wild. I saw a car drive right next to the boom. I called BS. There were no injuries. Look, all I heard was no casualties. Obviously, that it is possible, but it's just hard for me to believe is all. That car that flew onto the roof had its headlights on. That's the thing that really gets me, is if you look at the video and you slow it down, and you can go find the video on your own, or you can rewind. Well, actually, you can't rewind because there's a stream. We'll watch it again. If you look carefully, you can actually see the car in the background be thrown onto a nearby roof. And it looks like, and somebody just pointed this out in site chat, in site chat, that the headlights of the car were on, indicating that a person could have been in the car. Now, it could be that a person was in the car. It could be that, I'm misseeing it and it wasn't actually their headlights and it was something else. But that makes me think that in that car that flew on that building, there could have been a person inside. And if there was a person inside that car, that person is dead. See, the headlights are on. You can see it. The headlights of that car are 100% on. I mean, maybe the person survived. Maybe God really, 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 really likes that specific person. I just find it very hard to believe. There were no people in those cars. That's why no casualties. Easy. Yeah, true. All these cars driving around, they're actually all Tesla cars. They're all self-driving cars. That would be, dude, I hope the Russian government comes out with that statement. Somebody's like, sir, you said there was no casualties. What about that one car that flew into the building? Oh, well, obviously we see the lights are still on in that car. Tesla Model X, self-driving. Oh, of course, sir. Very smart, very smart. Callum, thank you so much for the Prime and being sub for 3 months. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate it. 1 second. I also find it hard to believe that God likes any... Okay, shut up. The car was parked, so maybe it was the alarm going off. That, I mean, I think that's possible. But when the alarm goes off, doesn't the lights flash? Because it doesn't look like the lights are flashing from the explosion. If you look, it just like... Yeah, it doesn't look like it's flashing. It just looks like it's on. Who knows? Maybe the lights were on and it was parked and nobody was in it. Somebody had gone inside quickly to get a soda. All possibilities. I even hope it's true. But just, you know, hey, I'm just asking questions, okay? If all the other hack alt media platforms can say I'm just asking questions, then I'm just asking questions. I don't think it's a good idea to interview right sector because Russian propaganda, especially Jackson Hinkle, will claim a pro-Ukrainian American interviews Nazis, and many people will believe him. Cancel the interview. No, I'm not going to cancel the interview. So, number one, I'm never going to change what I do or how I cover a topic based upon Jackson Hinkle's whims or sensibilities. The dude's a meathead. I don't really care what he thinks, but I believe that the best way to deal with any far-right element is with the right preparation to confront it directly. And so I want to make sure we talk about this issue in a responsible way. And I see a lot of other people trying to talk about the issue. I'm not really happy with how it's going, mostly because they don't seem to even be talking to the people that they're talking about. And I think that's an important aspect to it. I think that's an important aspect of painting this picture, telling the story. I also believe we shouldn't just ignore it. And so if they want to cover me interviewing these people, good. I hope they cover me. I hope they make response videos. I hope they get their, like, you know, they make the thumbnails and they're like, oh, or they're like, oh, or they're like, oh, or they're like, all they're like with the 100%, like the best thumbnails. People are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe Dylan did that. And they'll go to my channel, they'll sit down, they'll watch the interview, and they'll just have to be confronted by the fact that it's journalism and you interview people. Because no matter what, they're not happy. If I don't talk to these people, or if I cancel the interview, this is how it's going to be interpreted. Dylan didn't want to highlight the Ukrainian far right. He wants to pretend they don't exist. And so there I take an L. If I do interview them, it's Dylan's talking to the far right Ukrainian. So I should just do what I think's right. That's the best way to guide my actions. If they want to slander my character, they can slander my character. It is what it is. If you talk to Hinkle again, bring up how Jonah Hill took his girl. I don't like attacking people's personal lives. I'm not a huge fan of it. Then again, he did that to me. He went after my mother's heroin addiction in a Twitter space. For like, I was asking him about money he took from the Hiroshima Award, which gets money from what is essentially a pro-Assad lobby group. And I was asking him how much money he got from this organization, and whether or not his critiques of politicians for taking lobby money could it all be applied to himself for taking money from pro-Assad groups and then covering the Assad regime very favorably. And that conversation eventually descended after a bunch of pushback to what I was saying, to a point where he was so angry at me that he was going after my mother's heroin addiction. And so maybe I should lift that restriction on this one individual, but I want it to be a hard rule. I want it to be a hard rule because if I want to be upset about somebody doing it to me, I have to be able to hold myself to that standard. Are you going to debate the right sector members? Hey, everybody, here's my plan to deal with the far right in Ukraine. I'm going to debate the racism out of them. I'm going to go to every racist in this country, every anti-Semite, all the people who don't like the Romani community, right? I'm going to go to all of the homophobes and I'm going to debate them. I'm going to go door to door in this country, knocking on the door saying, excuse me, ma'am. And there's going to be an 82-year-old babushka comes out. What? What do you think of gay marriage? Man and a woman, you're a fucking loser. And I'm gonna yell at her. I'm gonna debate her. And she's by the end of it, after I've called her the most vile names in the book, she's gonna look at me. She's gonna be like, "Wow, you queer, you've convinced me. I'm now non-binary." And then I've saved Ukraine again. Congratulations.